The heavy brass deadbolt is not there when I drag myself up the porch steps. I had locked my door at exactly 5:30 this morning. Now, staring at a sleek electronic keypad that I absolutely did not install, my blood turns completely icy. Before I can even reach out to touch the strange metal, the front door swings open. My mother blocks the doorway, flanked by my packed belongings, her chin raised in a posture of profound arrogance. "We are moving your sister in. You need to leave." Thank you for watching this video. Before I take you back there, do me one small favor. Take a second to like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are. It helps more than you know. My name is Josephine, and I am 34 years old. In my family, I have always been the invisible workhorse, the reliable bank, the silent foundation that everyone else stood upon to reach their own goals. I am an anesthesiologist. My entire profession revolves around precision, observation, and maintaining an utterly frozen calm when everything around me is descending into absolute chaos. I keep people alive by monitoring their deepest vulnerabilities. I know exactly when to act, and I know exactly when to wait. 6 years ago, I purchased a $1.5 million estate in Montgomery County. I paid $250,000 in cash for the down payment. I worked 80-hour weeks, taking the most brutal hospital shifts, saving every single penny while my peers were out taking vacations and enjoying their youth. I paid $5,500 every single month to build my own sanctuary. But in my family, my achievements were never truly mine. My younger sister, Nadine, is the golden child. Nadine is the absolute royalty of our family tree. She has 3 children, no job, and a profound sense of entitlement that my parents have entirely enabled since she was born. My parents, Loretta and Wallace, treated Nadine like a fragile queen who needed to be protected from the harsh realities of the world. I, on the other hand, was just the machine that generated resources. 6 years ago, right after I bought my home, my parents faced total financial ruin. They were being evicted from their rented apartment. Out of a misguided sense of duty, I allowed them to move into my spare bedrooms. It was supposed to be a 3-month arrangement. It turned into 6 years of relentless psychological warfare. They took over my kitchen. They dictated my schedule. They acted as if my house was their own personal kingdom. I paid for the groceries. I paid for the utilities. I paid for every single repair. Whenever I brought up the idea of them moving out, my mother would unleash a staggering wave of guilt. She would talk about family, about sacrifice, about how blood requires endless generosity. My father would smirk and tell me I was being a selfish brat who cared more about money than her own flesh and blood. They thought I was completely blind to their manipulation. They thought they had entirely tamed me into submission. They believed they were the predators, and I was the obedient prey, firmly caught in their emotional snare. They thought I would just surrender my kingdom to the golden child forever. Little did they know, I was quietly observing every single move. Blood does not make you family, it only makes you a biological relative, but loyalty is what builds a true home. Which brings me back to the doorway on that Tuesday evening. The exhaustion of a 14-hour hospital shift completely vanishes. I am staring at my mother, Loretta. Behind her, stacked neatly in the hallway, are cardboard boxes. They have my name written across them in thick black marker. Looking past the boxes, I see my expensive leather sofa is gone. In its place sits Nadine's cheap, sagging floral couch. Plastic children's toys are scattered across my pristine hardwood floors. My father, Wallace, steps out from the kitchen. He is holding one of my crystal glasses, taking a sip of my expensive sparkling water. He leans against the doorframe. "Do not make a scene, Josephine," he says, his voice dripping with sheer condescension. Nadine has 3 kids. She needs the space. You are single and you live at the hospital. We have packed your things. I just stare at him. The house I bought with a $250,000 cash down payment? My father smirks, taking another sip from my glass. We gave you life, so your property is our property. Blood is thicker than paper, Josie. My sister Nadine peeks out from the master bedroom. My master bedroom. She is holding her youngest child, using the baby as a biological shield. She puts on her best victim face, her eyes wide and watery. She tells me that I am being completely heartless, that I have so much and she has so little, and that a good sister would want to share her blessings. My mother crosses her arms, her golden empire fully established in her own mind. I changed the locks today. We are inside. Possession is 9/10 of the law, daughter. That was the exact moment the trap snapped shut. I do not scream. I do not cry. I do not beg them to reconsider. The training of an anesthesiologist takes over. My heart rate slows. My emotions become completely icy. When you are dealing with a crisis, panic is your worst enemy. Silence is absolute power. I step back off the porch. I pull my phone from my pocket. My mother laughs, a sharp, mocking sound. She tells me to go ahead and call whoever I want, claiming that family disputes are private and nobody will care. I dial the emergency dispatcher. I calmly report an illegal break-in and an unauthorized lockout at my exact address. I do not use the word family. I use the word intruders. Then I make my second call. I dial Desmond. Desmond is my older cousin on my father's side, but more importantly, he is a senior real estate attorney. Desmond has always seen right through my parents' toxic masquerade. I tell him the situation. I tell him the locks are changed. He tells me he is leaving his office immediately. While I stand on the sidewalk, my phone buzzes. It is a text message from Mrs. Gable, my elderly neighbor across the street. She tells me she saw a moving truck earlier today, thought it was highly suspicious, and took photographs of the license plates and the men moving my furniture. The snare is drawn completely tight. The prey is trapped, but they still think they are the hunters. 10 minutes later, the flashing lights reflect off the windows of my house. A police cruiser pulls into my driveway. Officer Carson steps out of the vehicle. I know Officer Carson. We worked together extensively during a county health screening campaign last year. She is sharp, professional, and entirely immune to emotional manipulation. Almost simultaneously, a black sedan parks aggressively against the curb. Desmond steps out, wearing a tailored suit and carrying a thick leather briefcase. The front door opens again. My mother steps out, her face instantly transforming. The smug, arrogant mask is completely replaced by the facade of a sweet, confused, elderly woman. She clasps her hands together and smiles at the police officer. She tries to explain that this is just a silly family misunderstanding, that her daughter is simply stressed from work, and that they are just helping her organize her belongings. Officer Carson does not smile back. Officer Carson approaches the porch, her hand resting near her utility belt. She asks my mother who authorized the changing of the locks on this property. My father steps forward, puffing out his chest, attempting to use his masculine authority. He loudly proclaims that as the patriarch of the family, he has the ultimate right to manage his daughter's living arrangements. This is the moment the vocabulary of the real world shatters their completely delusional kingdom. Desmond steps forward. He does not greet my parents. He unzips his leather briefcase. Desmond hands a stack of papers to Officer Carson. He speaks with immense, chilling authority. He explicitly names the legal realities. He presents the official property deed. He presents the county property tax records. He presents 6 years of federal mortgage statements. Every single document bears one name, and one name only, Josephine Miller. Officer, Desmond states, his voice ringing across the quiet suburban street. My client is the sole legal owner of this property. The individuals inside have committed felony trespassing, illegal eviction, and fraudulent occupancy. They have unlawfully altered the security mechanisms of a private estate. I watch my mother's face. The mask slips entirely. The color completely drains from her cheeks. Her golden facade crumbles into absolute dust right before my eyes. The reality of federal law and county jurisdiction crashes down upon her fragile empire. Officer Carson turns to my parents, her expression utterly frozen. Actually, folks, county records state this property belongs solely to Dr. Miller. You have no legal standing here. You are trespassing. You will surrender the electronic keys immediately, or you will leave this property in handcuffs. My father's arrogant smirk is completely shattered. He physically deflates, his shoulders collapsing as the immense weight of his own actions finally registers. He stammers. He tries to argue about sweat equity and family contributions. Officer Carson raises her hand, completely silencing him. Nadine bursts into tears. Not manipulative, gentle tears, but loud, panicked, staggering sobs. She realizes her free ride in the luxury estate is entirely over before it even began. She wails about her children, asking where they are supposed to sleep tonight. I look at her, my expression an absolute glacier. You have a couch, I reply. A commercial locksmith van arrives 15 minutes later, summoned by the police dispatcher. The technician removes the cheap electronic keypad that my parents had installed. He replaces it with a heavy-duty, commercial-grade multi-lock system. It is a restricted keyway. The keys cannot be duplicated without my physical signature and my federal identification. My parents and my sister are forced to stand on the front lawn in the evening chill, watching as their absolute defeat is bolted into the heavy wood of my front door. Desmond pulls a drafted document from his briefcase. It is a formal, 30-day notice to vacate for their belongings. He hands it directly to my father. My mother, trembling with profound rage and supreme humiliation, points a shaking finger at me. You do not trust your own mother to be in your house alone, she spits out, her voice cracking. I look right through her. You just stole my house. Absolutely not. Desmond informs them that they have exactly 30 days to remove Nadine's cheap furniture and their own belongings from the premises. He explicitly dictates that they are legally forbidden from stepping onto the property without providing 48 hours of written notice, and they will be monitored by an armed security guard during the removal process. They thought I was weak. They did not know that silence is not submission. Silence is simply the time it takes to build a flawless trap. 2 months later, the house is completely purified. I hired a professional hazardous cleanup crew to scrub every single inch of the floors. I had the walls repainted to erase the lingering smell of my father's cheap cigars. I took every single family portrait, every picture of Nadine, every memory of their existence in my home, and I threw them directly into a commercial dumpster. I am sitting on my back patio right now. The morning air is crisp, and the house is entirely silent. There is no complaining. There is no manipulation. There is no one demanding my money or my time. I recently heard through a mutual acquaintance that my parents and Nadine are now crammed into a tiny, 2-bedroom apartment on the loud side of town. They are utterly miserable, constantly arguing, turning their toxic behavior upon each other now that their primary target is gone. My mother sent me a massive, rambling email last week. She wrote about forgiveness, about divine judgment, about how my cold heart will leave me lonely forever. I deleted it without a single flinch. I have peace of mind that no amount of their fake family loyalty could ever buy. I have my sanctuary. I have my dignity. Blood might be thicker than water, but a legal deed is written in permanent ink. What would you have done if your own family changed the locks on your home? Have you ever had to draw a completely hard line with toxic relatives? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved watching justice being served today, smash that like button and make sure you are subscribed for more stories just like this. Stay strong, protect your peace, and I will see you in the next one.